grow from there. And I was really interested in how do we help children living with obesity lead a healthy lifestyle? How do we help families? Because a lot of the culture when I first started the program in the US was very extreme diets, very extreme and regimented exercise program, very much a boot camp mentality, which in the first instance sounded great because these kids were losing lots of weight. But what was interesting was as I went back year on year, they'd lose the weight and regain it back. So it became a bit of a topic, and I got fascinated by that. But I also got fascinated by the families and the challenges that they were facing. It wasn't just they were overeating. It was trying to understand why are they overeating? What are the challenges these families are facing, and social challenges, mental health challenges, and just real genuine challenges in children, in families. Just fascinated me, and I found something that I could work with people on, enjoy, and really have a rewarding career. And I sort of look back 30 years on, and I'm so happy that I was sent effectively to this weight loss camp in Massachusetts because it completely changed my life. Yeah, sure. I mean, I suppose my experience has been, I'm a scientist, and whilst I think my colleagues have done an amazing job in helping us understand the real specifics about food and nutrition and nutrients and about exercise and the components of exercise and energy and all those things, we've learned a lot. Science has taught us a lot. But I think what we've done is we've focused then too much on those little details. We've not looked at the humans that we're working with. We've not sort of said, okay, why are these children overeating? Is it just simply they don't understand? Is it because they've been facing some challenging circumstances at home? Have their family got some challenging circumstances? There's been a bereavement. Have they had a really close grandparent go through a challenging time, or they've moved apart? The disruption of that is absolutely significant to any young person. And so when you actually start to understand the mechanics of how humans live, what you then start to realize is we eat for a reason. And we are sedentary for a reason. So if we're not happy, we are much more likely to eat unhealthy food, and we're much less likely to be physically active. So the two behaviors we're trying to focus on, okay, but what are the factors that are driving that? And I think when we start to understand the factors that drive those two behaviors, we can then work with individuals. If you put people on a diet, it works for a short period of time. And different people will respond to different diets in different ways, but fundamentally they're all diets. The problem with most diets is people revert back to their old behaviors. And again, why do they revert back to their behaviors? Because as you've rightly pointed out, Susan, that we are telling people what not to do. We're not giving them something to aim for. We're telling them you're bad and you're eating the wrong things. And I think it's about how do we create a more balanced message. And one of the fantastic elements from that work, that sort of couple of days, was the real focus on positive nutrition. How do we both recognize there are a huge, amazing number of positive nutrients out there, but how do we also embrace this positive message of food and enjoying food and recognizing food for what it is? Okay. Our food culture is not great, but we're not very far from France, and we're not very far from Italy, and we're not very far from Spain, and they have real wonderful food cultures there. And what I've observed in my small environment of a part of Europe is in the UK we don't see food as, we see food just as fuel. But when you go to Europe, you go to France, you go to Italy, food is more important than the culture. The quality of food is really important. The quality of nutrients is really important. I mean, the evidence is really clear that there are a whole range of benefits. And again, we should focus on the positive sides of this, because I think that's what the Mediterranean diet teaches us. There's a huge number of positive nutrients within the Mediterranean diet. So I think that's one of the things to really outline. And it's rich in vegetables, it's rich in a variety of nutrients, particularly the types of saturated fats that we know are protective for heart disease. So when we sort of look at the Mediterranean diet, and if we look from a calorie perspective, there's not a massive difference, but there's a whole range of positive nutrients within the Mediterranean diet. Oily fish is a core component of that, which we know is associated with health benefits. Olive oil, which we know is associated with benefits. As I've talked about, fruits and vegetables, which we know. And all those things combined are really, really valuable to our health. And in a sense, that's for me, again, with our challenges and in terms of those cultures, because from young people that live around the Mediterranean, those sort of foods are just part of their diet. Whereas in the UK, it's really hard to sort of shift the needle on the consumption of the types of nutrients that the fruits, the vegetables, the oily fish, I'm battling with my children to sort of consume what those positive nutrients are. Whereas luckily for children that live around the sort of Mediterranean, it's just part of their culture. So I would add a cultural dimension to this too, and the value. I've referenced it before, the prominence of food and how quality food is really important and how the social aspects are important, but particularly the nutrients of the Mediterranean diet are really beneficial.